The Schwinn Aluminum Comp massively upgraded in 2020, but it still retained, even with all the upgrades, the Shimano Tourney derailleur. Tourneys were a rarity on big box bikes just a couple of years ago, but today fairly common, and one of the base requirements really, that I look for on a bike in the $200 plus range. On a trail they are noisy, but they're usable and reliable as far as budget drivetrains go, and tough enough to overcome a stupid mistake or two. All those factors make the Tourney a good choice for bikes like the Aluminum Comp. And all's good until a couple of months ago when I started receiving reports that here and there an Aluminum Comp would show up without a Tourney. Check out the Aluminum Comp on wal-mart.com's website and you'll see down in the description a note about Shimano availability issues. Back in the summer, an e-bike manufacturer told me there was a pending Shimano shortage. Needless to say, it's now affected all brands, even the high volume ones like Schwinn. So going into 2021, we get an updated comp that has MicroSHIFT, which has rightfully spawned some questions from viewers wondering if there's anything else that's changed. Today, I'm here to report that compared to my Tourney-powered Aluminum Comp, all the main components the same. From the bars and grips to the fork and wheels, even the tapered head tube, all unchanged. It even retains that gorgeous silver to black fade that I like so much. You get the point, this MicroSHIFT equipped version unchanged with the exception of course of the MicroSHIFT components. But that change could be big because for years us budget bikers have looked for a Tourney, and can this MicroSHIFT work as well as reliable as a Tourney? And you may already know that in a recent video review I covered a bike with a MicroSHIFT 26 and it was finicky. I'll talk about that more in another video, but that was a MicroSHIFT 26. This one's labeled MicroSHIFT 26C, but as far as I can tell, they're the same unit. I did search in vain trying to find information on this. I even tried to reach someone at MicroSHIFT, which just led to a generic Google voice message, but I'll update if I hear anything. For now, I suspect the 26 versus 26C only denotes OEM versus retail. Either way, this uses the same replaceable hanger and shifts through a like 7-speed 14 to 28 tooth freewheel. And the shifting on this bike out of the box, it was pretty close. I only had to do a couple of turns of the barrel nut to get to what I feel is Tourney level shifting, at least on the repair stand. A little useless background information. Initially, I swapped the front wheel because I plan on passing this bike to someone else and the wheel card was taped, so I didn't want to mess that up, but riding around the front yard, I could tell the weight difference versus the factory wheels, and then I remembered I still have the original wheels from the original Project Comp and also the ones from Project Comp V2, so problem solved and wheel card saved. Up to this point, the MicroSHIFT focus has been on the derailleur, but probably just as important is the resulting shifter change. These replace Shimano Easy Fire shifters, which are trigger thumb. These MicroSHIFT all thumb levers, which many people find preferable. But for me, the most striking change is that Shimano Easy Fires have integrated brake levers. This new MicroSHIFT setup, a separate shifter and separate brake lever configuration. This could have potential if, and that's a small word with lots of meaning, but if it all works, and works as well as the Tourney that it at least temporarily replaces. The bad news is that with all the leaves, hearing the shifts is near impossible, but this isn't bad and very much on par in my opinion with the Tourney shifting that rear MicroSHIFT derailleur. The front, it has the same derailleur, but I'll be honest, I think it shifts slightly better at the shifter. That's because there's less throw when going up the gears on the front three, and that's good. All during my rides with this bike, the shifters and the shifting, they check out. I've had no chain drops or jumped gears, which can be a plague on bikes with cheap derailleurs and cheap shifters. There are noises from chain slap, and half of what you're hearing is obscured by leaves, but it's on par with the Tourney, I would say maybe ever so slightly less. So that checks out too, as has its hold-on adjustments. Now some big box bikes require constant adjustment on bumpy terrain, but so far so good with this MicroSHIFT. At least for what it is, which is a Tourney alternative. The biggest standout in all my riding with this, especially on the trail, is just how evolved Project Comp V2 is versus this standard comp. It's night and day, which makes me happy not only for Project Comp being so awesome, but also that the base comp is good enough to be a project platform. The transformative abilities of these bikes is amazing, but amazement doesn't really help me. Struggling up inclines on these factory builds, I mean, it's so much easier on the project bikes. I struggle, but I can still ride this factory bike on the trail, and that means these MicroSHIFT components do their job. And check it out, just like Schwinn had to adapt this bike due to the pandemic, the shadow of my pandemic mullet, I too can adapt as needed. So in summary, what have I learned about this updated comp? Well, first, that I need to double check my seat post bolts before hitting the trail, because this angle, it'll reach on up and let you know it's there. In all seriousness, everything is exactly as it was for all the other components, the only difference being the MicroSHIFT derailleur and shifters. And I think an argument could be made that this derailleur may be ever so slightly better when it comes to reducing chain slap. I mean, ever so slightly. Speaking of which, how do you like my sound reducing chainstay guard? Gotta work with what you got, especially when you leave half your stuff at home, but this works. A nice clean chainstay for the next owner. All other things being equal, the biggest deal for me is these MicroSHIFT shifters, because a separate unit for shifting and brakes means upgrades don't have to be done together. For us upgrade-as-you-go people, this opens up a lot of options. Only time's going to tell how well this setup ages, and Shimano EasyFires, they're pretty bulletproof, so we'll see, but MicroSHIFT Advents, I've had great success with those, so we'll see how far down that success travels. All this makes me wonder if maybe we should be lobbying Schwinn to keep this configuration. I mean, I paid $199, so this is a $25 savings over the Shimano components, and I have a more flexible upgrade path. At present, it's hard for me to find a downside to this. I would say maybe because the Shimano name is more known, but what do you think? Is it better for Schwinn to stick with this or to go back to Tourney when available? Comment below. Let me and Schwinn hear your opinions. Also, check the links down in the description. There's the KevCentral website, my Patreon, my Twitter, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. New content as soon as tomorrow, so make sure you get notified, and thumbs up this video if you found it informative. As always, thanks for watching KevCentral, and have a great day.